now it's my honor to introduce a young gentleman who's accomplished quite a bit so far in his life and his career, and his fine dad, who was two of my son's high school football coach. So I'm a bit familiar with the situation. And I'll be quick, because I know I was told to be quick. But a friend of mine, John Ardino, who happens to be the head football coach at Union High School, played football at Notre Dame. Whether this is true or not, he used to say that Ara Parseghian used to run around saying that adversity elicits talents that would otherwise remain dormant under normal circumstances. Well, Bill here was born deaf, and at the age of 2 had cochlear implants. And that didn't stop him from being a very active young man, and as you'll find out that he was more than active, he did a great job in football. He had quite a high school career. I guess he spent maybe 10 years in high school as working with the football team as a manager and all that. He played 6 years at Austin Prep and was a 4-year starter. He was a fullback and defensive back. He played on the Super Bowl championship team. I remember watching him on TV. He was a CCL All-Star, and he just was awarded the New England Officials Coaches Award for courage. Billy's a very special kid, and it's the type of student athlete that we're looking for that we have in mind at the 33 Touchdown Club. Someone that has something that's intangible, something extra. And so, Billy, I want to thank you very much, and I'm going to turn it over to your dad, and I hope he speaks nice to you here. It's not the football field, Coach.
Thank you very much. I had the pleasure and the honor of coaching Bob's 2 boys, and Nathan, I think you've all heard of Nathan, was the leading scorer in the state history until Mr. Izzo beat him a couple of years back. But my fondest memory of Danny and Nathan, I related this story earlier about Danny over here, was I walked on the football field and Danny had a big smile on his face. It was his senior year, it was the first quarter, and he said, "Coach, I made the honor roll." And I'll tell you, I'll never forget that to this day. I mean, this is what this is all about. This young man had an opportunity to be somewhere else tonight. He made the right decision. A professor from MIT invited him to speak tonight on how it is to be a deaf kid in the real world. But he picked the football with a little coaching from somebody, from his coach. This won't be very long. Let me read this to you. Billy's a fine young man who was born profoundly deaf. Every day is a struggle for him, yet he has succeeded in a very demanding college to preparatory curriculum in spite of his hearing loss. Billy has been an honor roll student because of his perseverance and commitment to excellence. He has made most of his talents in all areas of his life, in spite of a challenge that would discourage most people, and he has done so with humor, grace, and charm. He gets the charm from me. Billy brings this work ethic, intensity, discipline to the football field as well. He was a 3-year starter at defensive end and a 2-year starter at fullback. He was named Catholic Central League All-Star this year at defensive end. Billy has been a Catholic Central League champion as well as a Super Bowl champion, and I think this is the one that really impresses me. He was honored by his teammates by being voted captain of the team this past year. Billy was a force in the field, devastating blocker, tough runner. He played hard-nosed defensive end with most teams not even bothering to run his side. My brother would run at him. He ran the other way. He'd kill us the other way. He led the team in fumble recoveries. He also inspired his teammate with his legendary work in the weight room. Weighing only 175 pounds, Billy bench pressed 335 pounds and broke many school records. This young man overcame his disability with heart, desire, courage. It was heartwarming to see his teammates helping him in drills by tapping him when the whistle blew or by giving him defensive signals. Billy stood in the field at Gillette Stadium with his teammates after winning the Super Bowl, but he could not hear the crowd cheering like he will not hear you cheering tonight or calling out his name. Yet he was so happy to win a championship with his brother Mark and his father. I have been lucky enough to be his teacher, his coach. I am most proud of being his dad. Thank you.
All right. That's it?
No.
But,
Slow down, Bob. You always wanted to be the closing act.
I was told to move it along.
a first-time committee member. Dan and Jack. My name is Bill Tedrow, and I'm a first-time member of the scholarship committee. I have the pleasure of introducing Dan Johnson from North Attleboro High School. When I started to look at Dan's background to try and figure out, why he was one of the 7, I kind of thought about maybe I'd look at this from a coach's perspective. So I looked at the numbers, and the numbers are pretty impressive. First of all, Dan's batting 1,000. Out of 15 honor roll periods, Dan made it 15 times. He carries a 4.0 GPA based on a 94.7 grade average. He's already earned 6 college credits. He has ranked 4th out of 270th in his class. He's also the top ranked athlete academically in the whole school. I can attest to the fact that all 5 of his SATs are off the charts. And you would think that alone would probably warrant being an early acceptance student at Bowdoin, which he is. And then look at the other side of the ledger, which is what we kind of care about, I guess. And the numbers are equally impressive. Dan is a multiple team all-star member in 2 sports, both football and baseball. He has starred in 3 sports all 4 of his high school years, obviously football, baseball, and basketball as well. His football exploits are fairly impressive. He holds the school record for seasonal yards per catch at 11.8, which is a fairly astonishing number. And he also holds the record for most kick return yardage at 461. He's also the 2nd leading receiver on the team. The other number that's impressive is that Dan plays 4 positions on the football team. He's a slot back, he's a kick returner, on defense he's a cornerback, and he also averages 35 yards a kick in punting. In addition to this, Dan has been a member of the student council, a member of SAD, and students concerned about racism. In addition to that, Dan has volunteered with both the Special Olympics as well as the Pop Warner Youth Football camps. I think I stayed within the 30 seconds. But I want to congratulate Dan, and I'd like to turn it over to one of his assistant coaches, and I think a very proud uncle, Jack Johnson.
Thank you. Let me begin by thanking the 33 Touchdown Club for their excellent work on behalf of high school football. I applaud your desire to recognize outstanding citizenship, academic achievement, and community leadership. All 3 qualities represent important values. Being a NESCAC guy myself, I also appreciate your focus on non-scholarship athletes. In the interest of full disclosure, however, Dan Johnson has been on the Bunker Scholarship since age 8. Bunker is the name all the grandchildren give my father because none of them could say grandpa until they were 10. When the rest of the grandkids were getting pats on the back for a job well done, I think Dan was getting a little extra love in his hand for every touchdown. By the time he was a senior, I think a head fake was worth at least a quarter and a stiff arm was worth 50 cents. Dan's been loaning his dad lunch money in the corridors of the high school for the last couple of months. Like the 33 Touchdown Club, the North Attleboro High School football program has a core set of values that guide its short and long-term planning and serve as a beacon to its members. For us, loyalty, toughness, and discipline, LTD, are at the core of everything we do, and Dan Johnson is our ideal representative. In his candidate's essay, Dan wrote, "North Attleboro High School football has been a big part of my life since the day I was born." He's absolutely right. His dad, Don, who now serves as our head coach, is the longest tenured coach in our system in terms of consecutive years of service, 28 years coaching football. The person with the second longest tenure is his mom, Patty, who has been the head varsity cheering coach for over 25 years. Dan did practically grow up on the games, on the buses, and in the locker room, listening to various coaches preach the gospel of LTD. By the time Dan suited up for the varsity as a sophomore, he bore the double cross of high expectations and genetics. On the one hand, he was one of the best players in a talented class of skilled athletes who were also great students. On the other hand, Dan's offensive position coach was his dad, and I, his uncle, was his defensive position coach. It couldn't have been a lot of fun, but Dan managed it beautifully by being mentally and physically tough, exercising extreme discipline, and remaining loyal to the team and his coaches. I'm sure his sense of humor helped too. I congratulate him publicly on navigating this difficult situation so well. I'll also admit that it finally dawned on me why he worked so hard every day to get a ride home from one of his buddies rather than waiting around for his dad to finish the post-practice dissection. Dan's legacy as an athlete at North High is impressive. He was a smart, versatile, and athletic football player who was a three-way standout for us for 2 years. During his senior year, he established school records for yards per carry, 11.8, and most yards returning kickoffs and punts in a season at 461. He was also our second leading receiver with 20 catches. Defensively, he was an outstanding quarterback with great coverage skills. He's a strong tackler and had great quickness to the ball. In his spare time, he does a little punting, averaging a respectable 35 yards per kick. Dan Johnson's a major reason why we won 10 games and set a team record for the most points scored in the season. Dan also excelled in the classroom all 4 years, achieving a class rank of 4 out of 270, 94.7 academic average in our highest classes, highest level, most demanding courses. He has a tremendous work ethic, is an excellent role model for our younger players. In addition, Dan was actively involved in our school as a member of student council, was a phys ed student leader, was a member of students concerned about racism, our Friendly Faces Club, that's what a friendly face looks like, and SAD. Dan's work in the community was equally impressive. He participated in the Reading Buddies program at a local elementary school, volunteered at the Special Olympics, the American Cancer Society Relay for Life, the Juvenile Diabetes Walk, as well as our school's annual Red Cross blood drive. He's also volunteered for several years at our Pop Warner football camp and at the Park and Rec basketball camp. For his combined athletic, academic, and community accomplishments, Dan has received a number of honors. This year, he was a National Football Foundation Hall of Fame Scholar Athlete and a member of the Mass High School Football Coaches Association Super 26 All-State Team. He'll also participate in the Shrine Game in June. In addition, Dan was a Herald Football All-Scholastic, and as well as a Hockomock League Football All-Star, a Sun Chronicle Football All-Star, and a Reebok Combine All-Star. As a junior, Danny was a Sun Chronicle Baseball All-Star, and he played in the League All-Star Game. He was also the Basketball Coaches Award winner as a junior. In this age of increasing specialization, Danny participated in football, basketball, and baseball during all 4 years of high school. I was thrilled when Dan chose to attend Bowdoin College because I've always favored the NESCAC philosophy regarding the sports academic balance. And I admire the 33 Touchdown Club's mission to honor talented football players who are also outstanding citizens, high academic achievers, and strong community leaders. On behalf of the North Attleboro High School coaching staff, I thank you for recognizing one of our guys, and I congratulate Dan on all the work that led him to this important scholarship. Thank you.